Hey, thank you for being here. My name is Captain Jerry Turning, and I'm the president of Blue Bridge Autism Training. This is Understanding Autism. It's a guide for law enforcement and first responders. And I'm going to take you through a lot of information that I think will assist you to provide aid and serve and navigate some pretty critical and challenging calls for service that involve our jobs on a daily basis. A little bit about me is I am a 25-year police officer. I recently retired from the rank of captain from a police department here in New Jersey. And I've been doing your job for a long time. I was lucky enough to spend a majority of my career in K-9, so I've been involved in some large-scale missing person searches. I've been involved in a lot of searches for individuals on a spectrum. I've also been dispatched to calls in homes involving people with special needs, and I understand how challenging and difficult it is to navigate these calls. I'm also a special needs dad, and I've been a special needs dad for 17 years. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he's now 17. So I am in a unique position to understand what we're going to go through today from two sides, from two individual perspectives that I think bring a unique perspective to this issue that I think I can help you do your job better and avoid complaints and avoid negative PR and avoid tragedy and legitimately, literally save lives. Okay, so that's why we're here. When my son was diagnosed initially, I didn't handle it well. I had a vision in my head of how my life was going to unfold and how parenthood was going to unfold, and I had these dreams of what I was going to do with my son and raise him and teach him about baseball and all these things that we do as parents when we have kids. And when a doctor sits you down and says those words to you, your son is autistic, it has a way of rocking you and a way of making you off balance. And it really affected me, and it was a gut punch for me. And I didn't handle it well at first. I was scared. I was anxious about what was to come from my family. I didn't know what autism was at that point, even though I had been a police officer and in K-9 for a long time. And I thought I knew, but I didn't. I realized real quickly I didn't know the first thing about what this was, and I was put really in a bad place. To handle that, what I did was I started writing about it. About a year and a half in to growing this audience that I didn't know was out there, I kind of mentioned in passing that I was also a police officer. And after that, a lot of things changed, and a lot of the comments I got really kind of changed and pivoted towards expressions of anxiety and fear that other special needs parents had out there in the world about us, about you and me, and about our interactions with their kids and their loved ones. And it really hit me really quickly that there is a large amount of anxiety and fear amongst the special needs community about us, about police officers, and about interactions between us and their kids. I wasn't ready for that when it first started coming in. I had this vision of us, of you and me, as the good guys, as heroes, as the people who got into this job to serve and protect and are out there doing this noble profession. And I'm sure you share that. When I started to hear from parents and families like mine and people like me expressing fear and anxiety and just negative emotions towards police and first responders, I wasn't ready for it. So I really delved into it. I dove into it pretty deeply, and I started asking why. And when I asked people why they were feeling these emotions they were expressing to me, I got two basic answers. The first one was they're afraid that we are going to respond to their homes and we're going to physically injure their child. We're going to misunderstand the behavior, misunderstand what we're dealing with, mischaracterize it as disrespectful or non-compliant or, God forbid, criminal, and physically hurt them. And that's valid, and I get that, and I share that too. But the other reason people were giving me, and it was in equal bunches, they were pretty much 50-50. The other reason people told me they were afraid to call and nervous about interactions with police officers, with their loved ones, is fear that we were going to come to their home or step into their lives and judge them, that we were going to see them at their worst moment, judge them as unfit parents, and literally take away their kid. Literally, that's what people around the world feel about us, you and me right now. That if we enter their lives, we are going to see how chaotic it is and how difficult it is and how challenging it is, and see us at our worst when we fail and take their child away. That really bothers me, because it puts us in a position where, if you're like me, and I'm banking on you got into this job to help people, to serve in some way, to make people's lives better, right? To do good. And to know that there are a large, and I'm not talking about a few, there is a large segment of the population that you and I are sworn to serve and protect, that are afraid of us, that are afraid to call for help. That is not acceptable to me, and I'm banking on it not being acceptable to you. The good news is there's a lot of good that you and I can do to alleviate that fear and anxiety, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes a little bit of understanding and empathy, and changing a little bit, altering the way we approach certain calls, that can do a world of good. Okay? Because here's the reality. These families out there are telling me that they would rather face critical crises with their child, with their loved one on the spectrum, either an emotional crisis they're dealing with in their home, or, God forbid, that person goes missing. They would rather deal with that on their own as opposed to calling us for help. That they are hesitating calling 911 for help when they need us, when it's a legitimate situation where they need help. And I can't have that, and I hope you can't have that either. There's something we have to do. Now, whether this is a perception issue or whether this is real, that there's a group of cops around the world that are hurting special needs kids, I don't believe that's true. I believe this is a perception issue. I believe that in the time of social media and in the 21st century, that one negative encounter spreads like wildfire. That becomes the accepted perception of us, whereas just one isolated encounter. And for some reason where I haven't figured out yet, negative encounters, negative things spread much faster than the positive stories. That we will see 10, 20, 15 families a day and do good and help them in some small way, but one negative encounter spreads, and all the other things we do does not. So I think there's a lot we can do. It doesn't take a lot of effort to change this narrative and this perception, okay? And that's why we're here, and that's why you're here. But I'm asking you for a professional courtesy here, and I'm asking you to just give me a little time and a little bit of your attention, as a police officer and as a dad. I'm asking you for this, because the reality for me is I'm scared too. All right, I'm afraid. My son is 17 years old. He's coming up on 6 feet tall and approaching 200 pounds. And he will not respond in a way that a typical teenager will to you. And I am scared to death that one day you will meet him and encounter him and misunderstand him, mischaracterize his behavior as disrespectful or non-compliant or, God forbid, criminal, and you'll hurt my son. Now, I'm a cop. I've been in your shoes. I've been in the calls you're going to be dispatched. I know how challenging it is. I am your biggest fan, okay? But I'm scared that you're going to misunderstand him. And it's not because you're a bad person or you're not equipped or you're somehow not noble. I believe that you're a hero and you are my brother and sister, but I think there's just a gap in communication between you and the special needs community, and there's a lot that you don't know, and there's a lot that you don't know at this point. And the scary situation for me is a lot of what they teach us in the police academy, a lot of what you learned about criminal behavior or non-compliance or being deceptive, a lot of that just doesn't apply when you're dealing with somebody on a spectrum. Now, I want to put this out there early and clearly. I will never stand before a police officer or a first responder and tell you you have to sacrifice your safety or your ability to go home at night on the chance that the individual you're dealing with is on the spectrum. I won't do that. You go home, that's the rule. Okay, so you approach these calls with the appropriate level of guard and tactics. And a weapon in the hand of somebody on the spectrum is just as lethal as in the hand of somebody who's intoxicated or on drugs. Okay, so you approach these guarded and carefully, and there will be times where you will have to physically restrain individuals on the spectrum, and I will defend you till the end of the earth in those situations. All I'm trying to do is plant the seed in your head. Just a small seed in the back of your head that the individual you're dealing with, yes, they may be a threat, and yes, you have to act appropriately, but maybe there's something else going on. Maybe that individual, there's something else going on with them besides what our cop instincts always jump to, which is criminality or deceptive behavior or disrespect or somehow trying to get over on us or something like that. I just want to plant the seed, and if I can do this, I win. That there might be something else going on. Okay, is that fair enough?